What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's What's on Kickstarter. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the great, good, and not so good decks recently released. Steve, I gotta say, man, this was actually not too bad of a week. There weren't a ton of decks. We got a healthy mix of great and not so great. It wasn't a huge disappointment, so I'm actually really excited for some of these.
Yeah, I look forward to getting into it, and see if we get to save some money or if I'm going to spend some money.
You definitely got to stick around to find out what we're going to be backing this week, because there are some really cool decks out there. There's some really cool, fun campaigns. And as always, never know what's going to happen. We could just find some really crazy stuff. There could be lamps, there could be pens, there could be maps, there could be so much crazy stuff on Kickstarter this week. So it's always an adventure to see what's going on. Dude.
Maybe not any lamp.
Maybe. It depends how you look at it, I guess. But with that said, let's jump right into it. And for this week's first great deck, we have the Retro Wave playing cards. We've actually seen this deck teased on social media, I want to say for almost like a year now, it feels like. It's been a while. It's really been in the works for a bit. I'm really excited to see this drop finally on Kickstarter. As you can see, it is super close to backing right there. Probably only needs a couple $100 at the time of recording to hit that funding goal, so that's always exciting to see. So let's check this thing out here. First off, we have a great story come out of it talking about the retro style of the 80s with VHS, palm trees, which is very reminiscent to me of like Miami Vice. Steve, this should be like your time frame. You were like in the midst of life and energy at this point.
I definitely was. I was in a weird stage at this point, though. I wasn't really, I saw Back to the Future and that stuff, but like I was never into that. I was playing baseball, man.
You weren't a Don Johnson fan?
No, I watched Miami Vice. I like Chips better.
All right, fair enough. I can see that. That was that desire to get to California from early on there.
Yeah, and they're on motorcycles, which is way cool.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know, man. Ferrari motorcycle, I'll take one or the other. I'm not gonna be too picky, but so as we can see here, printed by USPCC and fulfilled by Dealese in the EU and Gambler's Warehouse in the US. What I really love about this too is this whole Dealese collaborative effort here, which is a combo of 52 Wonder and several other playing card designers who have come together, who are all in the EU and really are looking to build this kind of service, which I think is actually really cool. With that in mind, 52 Wonder has a lot of experience in these campaigns, so no surprise this is a great campaign here.
Yeah.
We get into
the colors.
Dude, it's really, they really hit that whole 80s retro vibe there, I think. The only thing they could have maybe used is a little more orange or something like that to really pop those summer vibes, but absolutely love the styling of it. The artwork is very vibrant, very interesting. Very, very retro-esque courts there. You can see those like lined glasses, the DeLorean, the
what were those
album.
called, those glasses?
Dude, I don't even know at this point. Like, that was not my era.
Uva glasses.
If anyone knows what those glasses were called, definitely drop a comment down below and let us know. And then you have this really clean grid and circle back design. Broken borders leads me to believe this is definitely a cardistry design deck, which looks really nice. Broken borders on both the back and the front, so you have probably several really interesting fans built into this.
Yeah.
Scrolling through, we can see a good amount of images here. The one thing I will say, and I feel like I say this a lot, is just throwing a couple bits of text between the images makes it less prone to just aimlessly scrolling and people missing information. You can see the queens, the kings, and the jacks, all the court cards, really well-designed visuals throughout this campaign.
Yeah, a little too many images there. You could have skimped out a little bit on some of those ace photos, but
yeah, there is a lot of
better than none.
Yeah, there's a lot of that duplication there where you see the jacks, you see the kings. Here it works out because they're showing a little bit of both there, but yeah, the aces, they probably could have just done one.
Yeah.
Nice little add-on collector's case there. It looks 3D printed. We've seen a couple of those pop up here and there, and they're always interesting to see how those play out. I probably would have moved that a little bit farther down because we're just getting to the numbers card, so it would have been a little more flowy there if you had gone through the deck as a whole before you got to the collector's box. Or even put it potentially up top with the tuck if it's a standard aspect to it. But if it's an add-on or a higher tier one, I'd say it's probably better off a little bit below there.
It'd be really cool with that joke, with the other Joker, is to see someone like maybe backspinning on a piece of linoleum.
Oh my god, like some breakdancing, that would be awesome for sure.
That would have been cool.
Really cool stretch goal of stickers, very low cost, simple. People love stickers, so I always enjoy seeing that. Free customized half brick boxes, free customized brick boxes. One of the other things that would be interesting to see on this is potentially another deck-oriented stretch goal outside of the idea of just the half brick boxes and the brick box, so maybe something along the lines of a seal or something, you know, that retro-inspired vibe to it. Maybe even a pair of those sunglasses would be hilarious, but something to consider there. But I do think it's nice to see these stretch goals build out really well. Nice add-ons here. Solid pricing on the deck too, man. I can't even go wrong with that. You have the option to pick up one of the designer's previous decks, which I always think is important. Then you have this case again. I definitely would, seeing this now, move a lot of that text down to here, because otherwise it's just a standalone picture. And I'd also clean up the pricing a little bit, I think. It looks a little out of place with these really well-designed, beautiful images to just have very plain text. It might have been nice to see an image with text on it there as well. And we see the Dealies group, which I think is really cool. Some interesting random German here, which I think just basically says reusability and recycling. I like that they throw it in there. I'm not sure why, but I like it. And then we go to the risks, and we see this is the one area where I'd say there probably could use a little bit more beefing up there. Just talking about the potential risks. I think when you have a successful campaign or two below your belt, you've almost got a templatized risks and challenges section that you could throw in there easy. More than one sentence is preferable, but all things considered, they at least did touch on my big pet peeve, which is the shipping situation due to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, right now everything's delayed, so there should definitely be a risk and challenge section that is obviously laid out properly.
Yes, absolutely. And we look like we're coming in at $19 shipped for this thing, which is a great price point. Some really good brick pricing as well, so definitely meant to be a used deck.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. But before we jump into this week's good campaign, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And don't forget to ring the bell.
And for this week's first good campaign, we have the Battle of Heroes playing cards. And I have to say, out the gate, this is so close to being a great campaign. I love the story behind it. I love the artwork. But we'll get down to why this is not a great campaign in a minute or two. Definitely stick around to find out. Really interesting story here. Tells about the whole background, not only of the artist, who is a fantasy illustrator based out of Amsterdam, but about the deck itself, tying right into what makes this deck unique. Great hook from the jump. Tying into the court cards, you can see that this is actually a 4-color deck, so each suit has a different color. This is actually the second one we've seen in 2 weeks now, which I'm always excited by, and I think really lends to this style deck being a collector's deck. Good, really fun pip cards with it as well. You can kind of see, it's interesting to see that they're rolling through the court cards as well in the pips, which as a first-time account creator, but someone who's created multiple decks, leads me to believe they're not fully showing off the courts there. Like, the pip cards, they're number cards, or they're court cards, or face cards, however you want to call them, but like, two distinct things. The pips are a function of the card. A little bit of a nitpick there, but I do think that's one thing that stands out to me on it here. By no means not the reason it's a good campaign. That again is just a little touch on it on the terminology side of things. Then we get into these really vibrant jokers, which I love the fact that they're like opposing jokers.
Yeah, 2 different colors, which are cool.
2 different styles altogether. I mean, if this wasn't a collector's deck and it was a Magic deck, you could use it for like a really kind of like dark color change there or something. Really interesting card back on this one, and obviously very artistically inspired. I would have actually liked to see a little bit of a mirrored back design on this one, but I do love the style of the artwork here. It's definitely kind of a World of Warcraft-esque, or very like fantasy-oriented. Obviously, being a fantasy illustrator, I wonder if she's done any sort of like book covers even.
Yeah, no, I definitely would like to see either, like you said, a mirrored design or a little bit more style like the court cards.
Yeah, it feels like for such a vibrant deck, it falls a little flat, but I'm curious if it's still a work in progress there. Getting into the specs, we can see printed by MPC. I haven't seen fulfillment yet, but the interesting thing is too, you can see they actually start talking a little bit about the stretch goals here, where upgrades will be unlocked with stretch goals. The first unlocked upgrade is a gold gilded edge. So really interesting, and that's something that all backers are going to get there, which is always a nice touch for a collector's deck. We get into the book box, which are a hot item across the board right now. I always love to see this. Then we get into this whole special thanks section, which looks like it deals with the small saddle sewn booklet. So inside of the booklet, there's a special thanks. The one thing I would say is when you have a header that says special thanks, to me, it sounds like it's going to be thanking people who helped with the campaign.
Yeah.
So talking a little bit about like maybe having a subheader there, or bringing that into the book. I'm curious. Okay, so inside the box on top of the card, you'll find a small saddle sewn booklet. So very cool. I probably would have used a little bit of a different header with that just to avoid confusion. But otherwise, looks pretty good so far. You have the guidebook here, which is a 52-page, perfect bound, full-colored book of the cards, which is really cool, especially for collectors who may not want to open it. You can look at and appreciate all the artwork in a larger format, which I always love. The funding goal here, a little bit of a redundant section. I don't know I'd necessarily touch on that. So we see here this whole reward tier section, which is actually something we see across other Kickstarter campaigns as well. And I think the one thing about that is I don't necessarily know that it's expected in the playing card community, but even if it's really a necessity, I think a lot of times people are used to going to look at the reward tier, so having it there is a nice redundancy, but not always a necessity in a campaign like this. The one thing with this is it just feels like there's a little bit of a lack of flow to the campaign itself, which makes it a little bit jarring. So having the reward tiers in there under the funding goal with this random special thanks section just kind of broke things up a little bit for me, and actually made me have to stop to kind of like gather my thoughts again and figure out what was going on with this campaign. Then you get into it, and here's the little like stretch goals and aspects of it.
Yeah, that section right here should be under the special, I mean, like maybe extra features or something.
Yeah, there's just a lot of redundancy, and while usually I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, there's so much redundancy that teases to further on that I don't feel like you're getting the full picture when it talks about the gold guild edges, free upgrade added to all decks. But it's a stretch goal, and you haven't mentioned what the stretch goal is yet, but you've mentioned it twice now before you've even gotten there. In my mind, like, this to me here says this is a free upgrade added to all decks. There's no indication that it's a stretch goal, and that can be confusing to people. So one thing I would say in this is while the flow is problematic and the information, it's great, I encourage redundancy, you have to really be thoughtful about when you're putting that information in. So we do get down to the stretch goals here, and we can see that they have a really well thought out stretch goal section. I probably would have avoided the redundancy in this whole section here to talk about it in this section here, but then you get onto it and it's like, all right, 55 bonus card, free upgrade added to all decks. Well, why is that not in the stretch goal section then?
Right.
Like, yeah. I'm very confused as to what is and isn't a stretch goal. The other thing I will say with this too is this campaign has obviously surpassed its stretch goal very quickly. In that scenario for a collector's deck, you really want to be keeping as much momentum behind it as possible. So thinking of other stretch goals to add on even after the fact is very important here to keep people backing, keep people from dropping, keep people increasing their pledges. So something very important to consider there.
And if you look right here, it says this add-on is extremely limited. Please see update 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Well,
for more information.
And that doesn't really, the 12K also unlocked a new limited edition add-on, a remastered edition of my first deck. So the one thing I will say about this too, when I saw this in the comments, the price for that remastered deck was 450 euros.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So something to keep in mind there. I don't know if they're sold out or not, but to me, like, that's higher than a very large amount of low Trek decks out there.
I mean, hey, more power to her if she can fetch $400 for a deck.
Absolutely, but yeah, to me, that floored me right then and there. I do like the fact that they talk about the EU-friendly shipping, especially with so much extra customs being tapped onto EU shipments lately. They still do not mention who is actually going to be fulfilling, but based on the language, it sounds like they will be the ones fulfilling, so so here you go, all rewards dispatched from Netherlands. They still don't definitively say, I'll be fulfilling. I think it's always helpful to know that it's an all-in-one sort of situation there, but really well done on the shipping section, touching on some of the concerns that people have right now. Do not use a pledge manager, no hidden costs, that's where shipping is already included. All add-ons must be selected before the campaign ends. That's also great. With a lot of times people expect a pledge manager, so having that in there really helps drive that story as well.
Yep.
And the one big one for me about what makes this a good campaign, not a great campaign, is $73 shipped per deck. And granted,
Yeah.
I think that the guidebook inclusion does add some cost to that, but all things considered, I'd say the guidebook would be better off as an add-on because then you're actually printing less if less people want it. You're printing more if more people want it, and you can have a more reasonable priced deck and fetch some money for the guidebook. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it is gilded. Obviously, that adds a little bit, but you know, there's no foil or anything like that, which would definitely, you know, help with that cause. But hey, $400 for her old deck.
So best of luck to you. Really well done with the goal. I think as a first-time creator on Kickstarter with other decks in the past, you've really done a great job. So nicely done.
Crushed it.
And for this week's First Needs Help campaign, we have the Psycho playing cards. So I gotta say, man, for all of the Needs Help campaigns this week, there's one thing that stands out across the board here. They're all very short. And so that's not a bad thing. You know, I like to be able to give as much help as possible for these campaigns, but if there's not much to work with, it's a lot of the standard feedback here. The one good thing that they did do is they actually mentioned the printer, and we don't always see that. So we get into it. There's a little bit of a story here. Psychoactive substances have intrigued me since I was a child, but at the same time aroused a strange feeling of fear and danger. Very interesting kind of intro to the story there. I wonder what you consider a child. Are you saying 17, 18? Or are you saying like 6? So that's the one thing that jumped out to me there. I love the fact that it mentions printed by USPCC. I'd be curious who's going to be fulfilling with this. The other thing about it is there's just really no other information there. What are the features of it? Who, other than USPCC, what stock is going to be on? How many are you trying to print? Who's going to be fulfilling? What does the deck really mean about you? Who are you? All of these are good questions that can really help drive a lot more of the information. With that said, also, the $23,000 goal is a bit high for a single deck and an assumed 1,000 print run. So really take into consideration how much you need for this. That goal should probably be closer to around the 8 to 10 mark on the max end.
Hey, buy and psych, you know, costs a lot of money. THC, LSD, it gets pricey, man.
And price point, we're looking at, ooh, geez, $28 shipped. So this deck across the board is just needs a lot of help from that point of view. If this does not fun, take it back to the drawing board. I'm sure there were people who would be interested in this deck, but you really have to consider the price point you're looking for. So this goal should be significantly less. The shipping at 10 euros to the United States is extremely high. Reach out to a fulfillment partner who can help you get that down to like $6 a deck. That's going to make this more appealing. It would still bring it to a $23 deck, but with printing at where it is, a $17 base price on this deck is also way too high. Best case, you should be looking around $14, $15 for what I would consider a relatively standard deck.
Yeah, good luck.
Best of luck. And for another great campaign this week, we have the Cardinals Poker and Euchre playing cards from Randy Butterfield. This is actually a relaunch, and the one thing that stands out to me on this one is Randy actually lowered the goal pretty significantly and is self-funding a large portion of this. So kudos to Randy for having a true appreciation of the art of playing cards and wanting to make sure that his decks get out there no matter what. I really respect that. As an artist, he's putting in his own funding to make sure that this thing gets out to people who are really going to enjoy it, and it is a fun deck for anyone out there who's interested in learning about Euchre. You can read through the campaign. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but if I'm not, let me know in the comments. Send me a phonetic spelling. And yeah, dude, good luck to Randy on this one.
Good luck.
And for another great campaign this week, we have the WH More Core Division playing cards. This is actually the second campaign from WH deck. Absolutely a really interesting campaign here. It's got kind of a surf vibe to it. You can see that from the jump. Different back design to their previous one, which was more of a single monotone kind of style, very cardistry oriented. I'd say this is still a cardistry deck, but it has a lot more of flair to the back design. It's going to have a lot more visual emotion to it, which I really dig. And with that, they're also pricing this reasonably at $19 for a cardistry deck, so you can pick up a brick pretty reasonably.
Hey, good luck.
Good luck. And for another great deck this week, we have the Wave playing cards. This is actually a first-time creator, really well built out campaign. Talks about fulfillment, printing, everything you need from the jump here. Really fun geometric style. Kind of reminds me of some of those old school like puzzles where you have like the maze game and you have to get it to like around the maze without it falling in the hole and things like that. Very cool looking.
Oh.
Dude.
I like the colors blue.
Yeah, I mean, I knew you'd love this one for that, so good luck. And for another Needs Help campaign this week, we have the Manibus Playing Cards Royal Edition. So this actually has a really beautiful back design to it and a really interesting style to the courts as well. This deck, I think, has a ton of potential. The one thing that stands out to me is they are doing worldwide shipping, but the campaign is very underdeveloped and it is only in German. If you're looking to only tag a German market, I would say reduce your shipping to just the German market. You're probably going to have some better luck there. The other thing I will say is it never hurts to throw a translation in, even if it's a quick and dirty Google translation below the primary language there. Also, just remember to throw in more cards, really build out this campaign. There's a lot of things that this needs for it to get to a level that people are going to trust this campaign, but I do have to say this has a very fun vibe to it.
Yeah, total potential.
Yeah. Good luck. And for another Needs Help campaign this week, we have the Botanical Playing Cards. And I feel like this is getting to be almost my favorite part of the show, but we're going to slap a big old beware on this one as well, because this is another deck out of Denmark from the same creator under a new account. And at this point, I'm not sure if they're creating multiple accounts or it's a ring of people creating these decks and just funding them on Kickstarter, but as you can see, it has the same exact style of renders, the same exact layout as the others, printed by Print Ninja. We literally saw a campaign 2 weeks ago that looks exactly like this template, just with a different style to it. And having checked back on the original one, which was done by Farah A, which was the Luna deck, there has been radio silence on that for the past month. It was already supposed to have fulfilled 2-3 weeks ago and no word there. So things are not looking good there. The updates have been private and I was not a backer, so I was not jumping on that train just to find out what the updates look like. But if a backer's out there and has actually received their deck, feel free to let us know down below. But until I see one of these decks actually fulfill, these are big old bewares across the board. Plus, I think this makes it campaign number 6 without fulfillment.
Dude, I mean, it's getting ridiculous, you know, and they're all super low goals, you know, like $1,000.
Yes.
I mean, 2,000. But yeah.
The one thing I will say too is if you take a look at Kick Tracker on a lot of these campaigns, you can actually see days where they lose backers but gain $500, $600 because they're self-funding to push over that goal. And for anyone out there, this is actually a key to keep an eye out for a lot of scams. When people are close to a funding goal on a scam, but they want to make sure that they're going to get that money, they will put some of their own money into the campaign to ensure that they get the total pool of money, because the 10% loss on the couple $100 or $1,000 that they put into Kickstarter easily pays off with the $1,800, $2,500, $3,000 they're going to get from all the backers. So keep that in mind. Use things like Kick Tracker where you can see the fluctuation in backer numbers versus funding, and really think about what is going on here. All things considered, if you take a look at this deck, 54 backers at this amount of money is coming out to about $50 per backer. I'm not exactly sure what people are backing $50 for here, but I would not be backing this deck, and that's not a teaser to what I'm going to be backing in a second here, but do please beware with this campaign.
Yeah. Good luck.
No good luck.
Dude, look at the 2 created, because she created one before.
I'm sure it's probably a cancellation of this one in a relaunch. Oh no, Tree of Life Tarot.
So yeah, see if she fulfilled. Go into comments.
August 9th. Backers only. Okay, so they're getting into the tarot market too.
Yeah.
It's a shame to see, but hopefully, I mean, you can see this. Canceled. Like, these are all very haphazardly thrown together campaigns, and we can see that coming through from the comments on this. Definitely beware on this one. So, Steve, you've seen the gamut here. What are you planning on backing this week?
I'm saving my money this week, buddy.
Really? Across the board. All right.
Across the board.
I have to say, if it wasn't $73, I would absolutely be backing that Book of Heroes deck. I love the artwork on it. I love the style. I love the book box aspect of it. But dude, I just can't shell out $73 for a standard deck for the most part.
Yeah, no.
So I gotta say, man, I think this is actually week 2 for 2 of neither of us backing anything, which is absolutely crazy. There were really some great campaigns out there, and I think a lot of the artists did some really great work. That's one of the things about Kickstarter, though. You know, there's so much style preference that goes into it that you can see a great campaign and just not fall in love with it. That just happens to be what happened here, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously some of these campaigns are getting some backers, so, you know, they're not for everybody, but there's also a style for everybody.
Absolutely, man. There's definitely a deck for everyone, and that's what I love about playing cards. But with that in mind, let's check out a fun little campaign this week from Illusionist. They have the How to Control Minds kit from Illusionist and Peter Turner. We always love to highlight Magic coming to Kickstarter, and I'm excited to see Illusionist back at it. Obviously, you remember they had the Queen Bee deck not too long ago where you could pick up some dope decks and Honey, which, who doesn't love Honey? I feel like someone's going to drop a comment and be like, I don't love Honey. I'm going to be like, I don't know what to tell you. It's delicious. But that being said...
If you don't like Honey, I don't trust you.
I mean, it's natural sugar. It's tough to not like. But with that being said, they really put a great campaign together here. Interestingly enough, they actually utilized the marketing services of Jalop on this one to help expand the reach of the campaign as well, which is probably a great idea from that marketing point of view for Magic, where you're really trying to get more people who are not on Kickstarter into Magic. Historically, Magic has not been that huge on Kickstarter, so I'm really excited to see it continue to grow. But as always, Illusionist making some fun stuff, and Peter Turner just amazingly talented. So worth checking out if you have any interest in that whole mentalism, mind control aspect of Magic.
Hey, good luck.
And now you know what time it is, right, man?
It's fun time.
It is fun time. And I have to say, I think we have some really great campaigns this week. Some heavy hitters out there, some really cool stuff. And I think just all around some unique little items that you might love on your desk.
Dude, show me.
All right, let's check this out. First up for my first fun campaign this week, I picked the Black Rose Wars Rebirth board game. Dude, this thing is intense. The first thing that caught my eye was this little figurine here, the multicolored gray with the green kind of clouds under it. Just looks absolutely awesome. But diving into this campaign, you can see that this is fun for any tabletop gamer who's a big fan of D&D or anything along those lines. This might be a fun little side game to play when you don't feel like getting into a long campaign. They have some really, really interesting artwork across the campaign, tells a really great story. And dude, I just love seeing how some of these like board game campaigns put it all together.
Dude, it fascinates me. I'm so not interested in like board games like this, but it's so amazing, the detail and the amount of work that goes into these things.
Dude, I can't even begin to imagine how much thought has to go into building out a game system. You have rules, you have magic, you have roles, you have tokens. There's all this stuff that takes so much time and effort to come up with, and the execution on these is just beautifully done. You can see all of these little pieces, and each one has a different like aspect to it that comes into the gameplay, which is just sick.
Dude, I'm gonna stick to Monopoly.
I mean, honestly, this is probably
my style.
Yeah, this is probably Monopoly times 10 on the complexity level, but it looks so cool. This is pretty sick. It's also an expensive game though, and that's what would probably hold me back from backing it. But I have to say, if I were to drop $150 on a game, this would be it for sure.
Now, how long does like one specific game like this take to play? Is it like a 3-hour sitting? Is it like a 2-week thing that you have to go through the whole process, or you know what is normally the time frame for a game like this?
Looks like it says 90 minutes, so an hour and a half.
Wow.
Which isn't bad. It's on the longer side, but it's still shorter than like some games of Monopoly.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, that's the nice thing about it, and it's good for 1 to 4 players, 14 plus, so there's a little bit of a complexity level to it. But dude, 90 minutes is really not bad.
How does one player play it?
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you'd have to look through the rule book. There's probably a way that you can play it by yourself if you're really down with that. So it looks like there's this whole idea of like quests and everything, and I don't think it's necessarily like, you know, Monopoly or Life where you have a laid out path that you have to follow. There's probably some like mechanism to it that allows you to play yourself, similar to like something like The Sims where you can play yourself and there's individual goals, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah, dude, Really dope campaign, though. Some really interesting stretch goals. I love the visual aspect of these headers here, too.
Yeah, nice animated.
Dude, hopefully we start seeing some of this stuff really come to playing cards. I mean, it's great to see how they did these single image layouts here, or at least the image-based layouts. It may even be that these are multiple images, though they look a little clean based on how Kickstarter does their spacing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of information in this campaign. I'm confused already. You know.
I mean, I think with a game like this, you'd have to sit down and really, like, read through the campaign. But again, at a price point of $150, like, I'm not just backing this thing willy-nilly. I want to know everything that's going into it, you know?
I think that 90 minutes at the top is how long it takes to get through this campaign.
It could be. And look, and this is a big team behind it, too, man. Yeah, this is like a big team behind it. So this is no joke.
Yeah.
I dig it, man.
Hey, good luck, man.
And hey,
$7,800 backers.
7,800 backers at $1.2 million. Very nicely done. So, next up for another fun campaign this week, we have the MetMo Pen, a dual-threaded pen for the curious mind. Honestly, man, I am fascinated by dual-threaded puzzles. This is the weirdest thing, where if you look at the gear, at the nuts, they're actually moving in different directions, but going the same direction on the threading. And so this is something to do with the way that you would dual thread, where they can move in both directions and both tighten and loosen. It's a really interesting concept, and to see it with a pen, I'm like, dude, this is like a great conversation piece for a desk, you know?
Yeah, I just don't know if I'd like the feel of that pen.
So
the whole thread, like,
it looks a little bulky, not gonna lie, and it may be a little rough, but like, I mean, look at that. That's how cool is that?
I mean, it's definitely cool, but you know, for me, it wouldn't be a writing utensil. It'll literally be on my desk to play with.
And I guess it also depends on like where you write, though, because if you go for like the smoother part here, so you hold lower, it may not be as bothersome, but if you do choke up, it looks like it could be, but it also looks like towards the bottom, it's actually smoothed out a little bit. So it may not be that bad, all things considered, but yes, I agree. I'd have to feel it in hand before I'd be willing to like jump on this, especially again for an early bird price at $123, which is not unheard. Dude, it's not unheard for a pen though. You look at good fountain pens, good entry-level fountain pens can go for a couple $100. So like an interesting, unique pen like this.
But a fountain pen isn't a little insert pen where you pop in a little cheapy insert and ready to go. Fountain pens can,
I mean, that's also not true though, because I have a fountain pen and I just pick up little cheapy inserts and I pop it in and I'm good to go. So, but
that's a wannabe fountain pen.
Nah, dude, there's some, expensive fountain pens still use cartridges. Unless you're doing like the old school one where you have the pump style, where you have the siphon. But like, again, I think this is more of a conversation piece than a necessarily utilized pen. You know, it is a functional pen, but it's something that I think you'd leave on your desk as a discussion piece. You put it in a little stand, and every once in a while someone walks in, you put a nut on the top, and it scrolls down, you know? I mean, that's pretty cool, too. An add-on case that's basically a giant bolt.
Dude, look at that. You can screw it into something. Too.
I dig this thing, man. This is intense. I gotta say, this is intense. But I'm always fascinated by pens, so this was a fun one for me this week. And dude, 380 backers at $74,000. Definitely got some good momentum there for sure. Considering it just launched today, definitely got some good momentum behind it.
Hey, good luck, Bolt.
Yeah, and first up for Steve's fun campaigns this week, we have the Sofa Baton X1 most versatile, universal, all-in-one smart remote.
Dude, I hate remote control. But you know what? Like, I've yet to find one that actually does everything. You know, I mean, obviously this has an app, it has a hub. It's, you know, utilizes Wi-Fi, which is cool. I just want to think it in... I want to think of what I want, and I want the damn TV to change.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe. I think we're still a bit off from that, but this might get you pretty damn close, man.
Yeah, until then. But I think it's like $100, which isn't bad for a universal remote.
Yeah.
That is Wi-Fi and comes with an app as well.
Considering a lot of the like higher end competitors for this are in the $400 to $500 range, that really isn't bad.
Yeah.
Plus, man.
And it's sleek.
And the name. Sleek. Honestly, the name alone sells me on it. Sofa Baton. Like, that's perfect, right. Man.
That is dope.
Oh, my God.
I mean, the only thing that would have been better for that is, like, I don't know, sofa boomerang or something.
Oh my god, I don't know, man. Sofa baton. It
That-
sounds like your weapon for television watching.
Yeah. So here's the thing for me. If you lose the remote, is there a way to have an alarm on your app that you can press it and it beeps or something?
Dude, maybe that's an add-on.
That'd be dope. I mean, it shouldn't be an add-on. It should be in the app.
That would be really dope though, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, because how many times have you lose your remote?
I mean, I'm very particular about where I keep my remote. There's only 3 places it goes. It's either on the arm of my chair, the coffee table, or in the cradle.
I'm gonna interject here. Do you live with your girlfriend yet?
No, and that's why I know where my remote control is at all times.
Yeah. Give it time, buddy.
All right, so good to know. I'm gonna have to get one of those like old school Wii wrist remotes so you don't throw the remote or lose it. I'll just keep it strapped on my wrist all the time.
You know what I did is for the Apple TV.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the rubber cases that go on the outside.
All right.
So the friction doesn't allow it to slide into the sofa, doesn't allow it to get lost in the cushions, stuff like that. So it's been good since I've gotten that.
There you go. Go back to Sofa Baton, and while you're at it, you're getting life hacks from Steve. Good luck on this one. 2,700 backers already. Definitely crushing it. And for another fun campaign this week, we have the Nextube, a retro Nixie clock-inspired modern display.
So cool.
Dude, I am fascinated by Nixie tubes. My biggest concern with these is I don't know if they still make them. And I think
how long it's gonna last if something happens.
Right? And I think this one is actually like LED based, or it's done differently versus like the original ones, hence Nextube versus Nixie tube. But I do know we've seen things that talk about like how many Nixie tubes are left in the world and if you're gonna be able to get them again in 50 years. And it's like, all right, so you're putting a lifespan on it. Look at that, dude. Lifespan, 100,000 hour lifespan.
I mean, that's solid right there.
This has to be like LED based or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think it's definitely modernized, but it still gives you that old fashioned kind of cyber tech look,
Yeah. The interesting thing is, I think what they are actually is LED screens.
Oh, wow.
Because if you take a look, there's a whole bunch of different displays you can do there. So this is actually significantly cooler than I originally remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I definitely dig this. I like that one there where it's got the time, the weather, and the temperature. It almost reminds me of like the bar you see on the top of your phone. This is
That's
really
cool. Look at that. Yeah. Dude, this is cool. It definitely is.
If you're looking for a fun clock, I mean, that's the thing too. You're looking at it, it's a Kickstarter exclusive, $160. So on the higher
everything
end,
else is gone.
Yeah, everything else, dude. Yeah, even the super early bird was $100. So you had a chance to save $60 if you got it early. But this thing is fun, man.
Yeah. Sleek.
And it looks nicely built. Look at that black walnut, raw brass. So they're using solid materials there, and it's gonna retail for $189. Yeah, man.
Save 20, $25.
Clocks are expensive. I mean, I get it. They're just big watches, but like this thing is intense.
I mean, I don't use clocks anymore, to be honest. I have like my phone by my bed, and that's how I know what time it is at any time.
I can't do that. I can't be that attached to my phone. I still wear a watch. I still use the clock in my car. I still use the clock on my oven. So that's where I'm at. I will never be a full phone clock kind of person. But if anyone's looking for a nice desktop accent to go along with the double-threaded pen, pick yourself up a Nextube clock.
They'll match because of the brass, dude.
Exactly, and they're killing it here, man. 2,500 backers. So exciting to see fun stuff like this coming out. Steve, I gotta say, man, there were some interesting campaigns this week. Some really great fun ones, man. That between all those, the pen, the clock, the remote, absolutely a blast. The game, spend a lot of money real quick. You drop a couple $100 there, but you'd be entertained for weeks on end. So,
dude, Sofa Baton, coolest name.
It really is. It actually might be one of the better names for a gadget we've seen on Kickstarter yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, absolutely love it. And as always, we want to hear what all of you are out there backing this week. So make sure to drop a comment down below. Let us know what you plan on backing, whether it be a deck of cards, a double-threaded pen, a Nextube, or anything else fun that you happen to find. We always love to hear it. And while you're at it, don't forget to like the video, share, and subscribe.
Bye.